All right, welcome back. I hope you're having an awesome time so far. Our next speaker is Jim Flatt. He is a CEO at Brightseed. Please join me in welcoming Jim to our virtual stage.
Thank you, Patricia. Imagine a world in which chronic disease that afflicts so many of us around the world is cut in half. That was the future that inspired myself and my two co-founders to found Brightseed. Brightseed has enabled a healthier future by illuminating connections between people and plants. And these are mediated by small molecules that the plants produce for their own growth and survival, but which, having evolved around a predominantly plant-based diet, have important connections and mediate important biological processes that are determinants of human health. We ultimately develop new health and wellness ingredients and provide services, partnering services to businesses across agri-food and the healthcare space to deliver innovation using a powerful AI system that allows us to unlock the health potential of plants. So we've known for many, many years, many centuries, in fact, that plants have important healing powers. In fact, as many of you may know, the majority of small molecule drugs are derived from nature, which plants have been the most prolific contributor. But yet with all of the compounds that plants are capable of producing, we know actually very little about their true potential. We estimate that roughly 1% of these compounds have been profiled, about 100,000 compounds to date, and yet they've yielded important discoveries, including aspirin from willow bark, metformin as a first-line oral diabetic from the French lilac. And so that was the problem we undertook. And so we created a very powerful system called Forager, and it is a true AI system that trains in very large human biology and plant system biology data sets to answer three primary learning objectives. The first is identifying what's in the plant. So can we, in fact, gain a much deeper understanding of the compounds that make up plants? With that growing library, we have increasingly accurate algorithms that models that we build that link biological targets, including cell receptors, transcription factors, and enzymes that are determinants of health, which have been studied oftentimes for decades and linked to clinically proven outcomes. From this digital model of human health, we can make predictions about features of compounds in our growing plant library that would be likely to act favorably on these targets and thus link them to a health condition. And then finally, once we have identified and validated hits, as well as identified lead compounds for further development, we can translate that to commercially viable supply chain through a system that we have developed that actually takes omics data from higher plants coupled with knowledge of evolutionary relationships to make predictions about metabolic capabilities. Overall, this system allows us to greatly improve the likelihood of a favorable outcome and significantly shorten the time and cost of these discoveries. And so just a little bit about what we've been able to achieve to date. Using AI-enabled deep metabolomics capability, we have actually identified roughly 700,000 compounds, which is about 7 times what's known to the world to date, and we expect to double that before the end of this year. Of course, this gives us a real good opportunity, in fact, to make new discoveries and also understand through a more complete characterization of plants its true potential. Here we show illustration of how Forager views this problem in the world. And as you can see, we link human health conditions that follow standard etiology that have been developed which connect to human biological processes. And we've mapped already roughly 400 biological processes that, of course, are linked and determinants of health outcomes. And as you can see through the models, we're able to make predictions of compounds that above a certain likelihood threshold that we found to be indicative of likelihood of actually being favorably modulating the target of interest, a solution set that's shown in pink, and these are the plant compounds that are starting point for the discovery process. And two things come out very clearly. As many of you know, many of the most vexing health conditions represent failures in multiple points of metabolism. And solutions in the future increasingly are going to have to address multiple failure points in order to get both a robust effect as well as a meaningful effect. Secondly, as you can see, we can also quickly computationally scan the biological targets to identify the most promising solution spaces. Trying to provide a representation here of the plant compound database that we have. We actually have modeled over these compounds on over 70 dimensions. And so what we show here is a two-dimensional representation of a very high-dimensional space. But a couple of things come out. And the first is, as you can see, the plant compounds, which are shown here in green, transit and basically cover most of the FDA-approved drugs, as well as flavor compounds that are also biologically active. And that's important from giving us a sense of the quality of the library we have. In addition, you see many green dots in spaces that are not covered, which also gives them potential perhaps for new biological targets as their knowledge of biology really grows exponentially. So in short, we have a great diversity of compounds here. And as you can see, we think a rich source of new compounds for discovery. We have modeled over 11 different major health conditions that represent areas of great consumer unmet public health need, as well as consumer interest. And these include cardiovascular health and metabolic health more generally, immune health, cognitive function and performance, as well as digestive health. And as you can see, the rapid progress that we've made in increasing our coverage of the health space. Through the Forager methods, we've identified strong solution spaces in many of these key areas, and that's illustrated here. And again, as you'll see in a subsequent slide, this gives us a good chance to identify leads. Ultimately, the proof of Forager performance is in the pudding shown here. We've actually completed 6 major discovery programs, 4 in metabolic health, 2 in cognitive function. And as you can see here, I think the important takeaway points are, first, we've identified good validated leads for all programs with an increasing hit rate. Oftentimes, the compounds we find have potencies comparable to, and in some cases, even more potent than best-in-class compounds for a particular indication. And what's probably most important and really goes to the ability of AI here to accelerate the process is that we can do this now in a matter of months rather than years. And as you can see, our hit rate has improved over time materially, which is again indicative of learning system. So just to wrap this up and show how we're applying this, we undertook a major project with a leading metabolic disorder researcher and directed to the central issue of obesity-related disease, and specifically fatty liver disease that afflicts about 25% of the population. With our collaborator, we were able ultimately to identify in just a few months several class of very potent compounds, which we just published favorable preclinical data. What's interesting is through our work, we were able to show a highly productive source from black pepper, which again has a long history of use in Ayurvedic traditional medicine, but again functions unknown. We're getting ready to start our first clinical trial and expect to bring this out in early 2023. So again, I hope this has given you a sense of how AI can really be transformative here in revealing the potential of plants towards a future that is one focused more on proactive health. Thank you very much.
Wow, Jim, thank you. That was amazing. And we really appreciate you sharing your insights with us today. I know this virtual audience is giving you a huge virtual round of applause. Thank you again. For the audience, it's time for you to make your way to your next session. Along the way, make sure you accept your connection request and take some time to check out our amazing exhibits. Thanks so much, and we'll see you around.